I love your shirt.
Thank you. I made it myself.
Did you?
And it has microbes on it.
Oh, look at them, they're so cute.
I know. I like to think about which one's my favorite. I think it might be this one. At this very moment, there are trillions of microbes in and on your body. These bacteria, fungi, viruses, and more are part of our bodies from the moment we're born, and we need them. The bacteria in our gut help us digest our food. The bacteria in our mouth and nose help us fight off infections. And almost every part of your body has its own unique microbiome, or community of microorganisms, and that includes the vagina. And that's what I'm studying as a graduate student right now. Someone should really count the number of times we say vagina in this video, because it's gonna be a lot.
I think one of the biggest misconceptions about the vaginal microbiome is that it's bad. A lot of people immediately will think that microbes are not helpful to us, when in fact, the vaginal microbiome is incredibly important for protecting us from invading microbes that are bad.
There's an incredibly diverse microbial party in there, and the partygoers who take up the most space are a kind of bacteria called lactobacilli. There are a bunch of different species in this group, but they all have a very important job, and that's taking up space and keeping the place acidic. These lactobacilli are producing lactic acid as they live their little lives, making your vagina have a pretty low pH. And this acidity is a really good thing because it keeps healthy bacteria happy and makes it harder for bad bacteria to take over. This is also actually why you may notice stains or bleached areas on your underwear even after washing them. That natural acidity of your vaginal discharge is bleaching the pigment out of the fabric, and that's totally normal and fine. I promise you're not weird. In fact, this might explode your brain, but the vagina's healthy acidity has been shown to decrease your risk of catching certain STIs, even lowering the likelihood of HIV transmission. Although, using a barrier like a condom or a dental dam is still absolutely necessary if you want to minimize your STI risk as much as possible. So maintaining that healthy community of microbes and that acidic environment is really important.
So for instance, it's associated with things like bacterial vaginosis, which affects 10% of women in the US every single year recurrently.
If you've ever had BV, you know the struggle. Normal vaginal discharge is a combination of cells, fun stuff your microbes are producing, the microbes themselves, and cervical mucus. And it'll vary in texture, color, and amount throughout your cycle. Usually, discharge is clear or white and doesn't have a bad smell, but if that microbiome gets upset, like if something makes it more difficult for your lactobacilli to thrive, then other species of bacteria will start to move in and take over. Your discharge may change color and start to smell different, and this is bacterial vaginosis. It's an imbalance of the natural bacteria that are always there in your vagina. They're just out of whack. Now, if you've experienced this, you're not alone because it's the most common vaginal issue for those of us under 45. And something similar is happening when you get a yeast infection. If your natural ecosystem of protected bacteria has been disturbed, the yeast that naturally live in your vagina then decide, hey, now's my moment, let's multiply. And the most frustrating thing is that if you take a medication for one of these problems, like say antibiotics to treat BV, that same medication then increases your chance of developing another imbalance-driven issue, like a yeast infection. It's like, can we catch a break? Like, we just gotta find other options than throwing antimicrobials at the problem. And actually, pro tip, maybe you can ask your doctor for a probiotic along with traditional antibiotic treatment for BV. And there's also some research that shows that using an antifungal with an antibiotic at the treatment stage can help prevent this odious self-reinforcing cycle. But we still need to find better solutions. It's truly exhausting because so many things can upset your microbes. Taking antibiotics, being pregnant, having sex, getting your period, using menstrual products, being on birth control. Like, there's so much admin that comes with having a vagina. But if there is one thing you take away from this video, please let it be this. You don't need to wash out your vagina. I know the world might have made you feel like you're bad or dirty for producing discharge or for smelling how you smell, but if you do something like douche, you're literally washing away all of the good microbes that keep you safe and healthy. You never have to wash out your vagina. it cleans itself. And I know I get worked up about this stuff, but that's just because this microbiome business has way bigger impacts than stuff like yeast infections, although they do suck.
The vaginal microbiome is also implicated in secondary conditions. These include things like preterm birth, STI acquisition, and even fertility.
Yeah, that disruption of the natural vaginal microbiome, like we see in a condition like BV, may increase your risk of developing pelvic inflammatory disease, a condition that can lead to infertility if it's left untreated. Microbiome imbalance can also increase your risk of getting HPV, and that's a big deal because some types of HPV can lead to cancer. BV during pregnancy is also associated with a higher risk of premature birth, which poses all kinds of risks to both the birthing person and the baby. We need a better understanding of these microbial dynamics so we can stop this from happening. And this is actually what I'm doing my master's thesis research on right now. And all of this doesn't even begin to get into stuff like urinary tract infections, which 50 to 60% of women will experience in their lifetime. The vaginal and vulval microbiomes definitely affect conditions like UTIs, which also have long-term health implications and don't have great solutions. Now, at this point, like me, you may be really frustrated by the lack of deep understanding and effective solutions we have for issues like this, but that is changing. And this is where companies like Hannah's come in.
We founded JunoBio for two reasons. One is that we believed that we needed to close the gender health gap as quickly as we could, and that this was one of the best ways of decoding the vaginal microbiome. The second reason is that to really decode the vaginal microbiome, we need data at scale, and traditional academic studies and the way that they're funded and run just don't provide that scale. Through the Juno study, we've built one of the world's richest repositories of vaginal microbiomes.
Because yes, we do see differences in microbiome makeup across ethnicities and geographic areas, across different kinds of diets, and between vaginas and neovaginas, or vaginas that have been surgically constructed. So companies like JunoBio and research teams all over the world, like the one I'm working with, are trying to dig deeper and generate more data about the vaginal microbiome. This will let us understand how these invisible creatures work, so that people with vaginas don't have to just put up with conditions that the world treats as insignificant, but that, as we've seen, actually have an oversized effect on our overall health. This research could lead to exciting developments, like standardization of probiotics as complementary therapy for BV, better, more accurate screening tools to identify those at risk for preterm birth, and
vaginal microbiome transplants. So in 2019, we had the first ever paper that showed that actually, if you take a vaginal microbiome sample from a healthy woman and place it into a woman who's dysbiotic, you can actually cure things like intractable bacterial vaginosis.
Because it's not just about you. Your microbiome can affect the health of your sexual partners. And if you have a child, passing through the vaginal canal is that baby's introduction to its microbial world, setting up its microbiome, maybe for life. You can see just how many different lives and fields are impacted by and involved in this aspect of female-bodied health.
We need a multidisciplinary approach, and it's super important to have scientists, clinicians, and the women that experience the conditions associated with them all involved in decoding the vaginal microbiome and the impact that it has on our health.
I feel really lucky to have found my niche in this fascinating field, and I'm hoping to go on to do a PhD in exactly this. So if you have questions, I hope to be part of finding the answers for all of us. But for now, let me leave you with this. The best part about your vagina is that it's really good at keeping you healthy if you let it. So say with me, no scented products, no soap, no douching, just let it do its normal thing. And get in touch with what that normal is for you. Thanks so much for watching Seeker's new series, Body Language. I hope you've enjoyed this video, and if there's another women's health topic you want us to cover, leave us a comment. I'll see you next time.